This is the Gallagher Grand Prix here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, race 14 of 17 on a warm and humid Indiana afternoon. And this is going to be special. There's still a title on the line. Alex Palou leads Joseph Newgarden by 84 points. But Joseph Newgarden is coming from way back in 25th on the grid after a late engine change and a grid spot penalty. Palou is a lot further up on the grid. As we say hi, folks, Lee Diffie along with Townsend Bell and James Hinchcliffe, Kevin Lee and Dylan Welsh with you on this crossover weekend. NASCAR Xfinity and Cup Series, and this, the NTT mile road course. What lays ahead is 85 laps, just over 200 miles, and a whole lot of hard racing.
And tremendous curiosity from the race fans and from the drivers looking on both sides of the fence, pardon the pun, because if you're an IndyCar driver, you're so curious about what happens in the Cup world. And I think as time goes on, the technology is coming closer and closer together.
Yeah, it sure is. There's just so much respect between these two paddocks. The IndyCar drivers have so much respect for what the NASCAR guys do. We have the privilege of getting a race against Jimmy Johnson for the last couple of years, and then likewise, the Cup guys come here and see the speed, the braking ability, the cornering ability, the physicality of these IndyCars, and it just blows every driver away.
Well, let's talk more specifics as we bring to you the Honda track preview. Fellas, take us around.
Well, greatest racetrack in the world right here in Indianapolis Speedway, Indiana, to be precise. The number 30 car, Jack Harvey, taking us around. This is this wide open, flat out, pedal to the metal chicane that leads on to the Holman straight down to the brake zone for turn 7. Pretty decent passing opportunity there. And then as you get through 8, 9, and 10, it's all about the curb hop and how much can you get away with before your tires are in the grass.
One of the coolest bits of racetrack we get to. So challenging for the drivers. You see Jack Harvey coming up to it now. Everything you do from affects everything for the section. Then you on the open off the lap.
Are you ready for a little bit of IndyCar history? Happy birthday, Parnelli Jones, oldest living Indy 500 winner at the age of 90. Parnelli, happy birthday. Scott Dixon on your screen creates some IndyCar history today. It is his 319th consecutive start. This goes back almost 20 years. The Iceman, it maybe is the new Iron Man, because that's a record that's going to be broken when he takes the green flag. He breaks the tie he has with Tony Kanaan. Let's talk to the driver of the PNC Bank Honda.
Let's see if we can get him here. Hey, Scott, it's Townsend up in the NBC booth. You got me?
Yes, sir.
Hey, man, you're still at it. We battled it out over 23 years ago, but this is 319 consecutive starts for you. Lee Diffie just called you the icy Iron Man now. How have you done it? How have you stayed in the cockpit this long?
Just plain and simple, man. I love racing, and I get to work with the best of the business. You know, this team has achieved a lot and have so many of them to thank for what we've done. But I just plain and simple love racing, man.
Good stuff. Now that red number 12's right behind you. He was coming at you at Mid-Ohio too long ago after an unfortunate situation. How hard of a time do you think Team Penske's going to give you, the Chip Ganassi racing team, today?
They're one of the best in the business as well. We know they'll always be tough no matter where anybody's starting. So it's going to be an interesting day, man. It was interesting qualifying for a lot of people. Field's a bit strange, but yeah, 12's always strong, man. We'll see.
Well, you always find a way. Thank you very much. Congratulations on the achievement.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
43-year-old father of 3 is ageless and just has an abundance of energy. His skill level is through the roof. He starts from 15th today. He's a winner on the road course here back in 2020. We'll see what this historic 319th consecutive race can do for Scott Dixon. It's an all Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan front row with Graham Rahal leading the field to green for the first time in 6 years in front of a huge NASCAR audience as well. The NASCAR crossover weekend, Xfinity race coming up later this afternoon, and the Cup race tomorrow. What a fabulous celebration of the sport we love here at the world's most famous racetrack. They come through the final turn for the 85-lap race. That is the Gallagher Grand Prix, with the Indy-based Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan squad leading them. to green. Turn 1 is always a chaos point. Let's go racing at Indy. This is the Gallagher Grand Prix. And Graham Rahal with a great start. Lundgaard is being challenged on the inside.
3 behind, 3 wide. You see both McLarens. Now 4 wide. Devlin DiFrancesco, baby, all the way to the lead from his career best start. He's side by side with Rahal. And Dev takes the point.
Unbelievable. This driver has never qualified in the top 6. He's never even had a sniff of a podium, and he is so hungry to go to the front. DiFrancesco leads as 2 Aero McLarens slide around behind.
Oh, Will Power got airborne in that black and red Verizon Chevy. He shortcut the chicane there. DiFrancesco in this turquoise and pink Trubar Honda from Andretti Steinbrenner.
That is Alex Palou,
And
championship
Dixon.
leader, and his teammate Scott Dixon, along with Newgarden. Oh, that's terrible for Newgarden in the championship.
Yellow flag obviously out. The number 2 up on top of the number 11 of Marcus Armstrong. You see that yellow and red DHL back around, but so much track position loss.
I was just about to say this is exactly what Newgarden needed until it wasn't. Alex Palou had contact to the right front. An opportunity for Newgarden to gain points as the AMR safety team. Need to be careful here. They got about 1,650 pounds to get off of Marcus Armstrong's right front.
3 Ganassi cars involved in that. Palou, Dixon, Armstrong. Unbelievable. All teammates. Colton Herder. We saw him. He's got a flat rear on the left. We saw him in with the woes a week ago in Nashville in the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix, and the Gamebridge Honda in trouble again.
We talked about this before the show started, guys. That's kind of the dangerous zone for the start, that sort of 7th to 12th. Right where we saw the 26 of Colton Herder, right where we saw the 10 of Palou. You saw Scott Dixon got spun around there as well. And while all this is happening, Devlin DiFrancesco is going to lead them across the line for only his 2nd ever lap led in IndyCar.
That is, as the Andretti team go to work, Newgarden saying, please help me. Please help me. I need to get, there are massive championship implications here.
Here comes the field diff. Here comes the field. They need to get it started. You hear Tim Cindric. He knows how important this is. They do not want to lose a lap.
Kevin Lee, this could be championship over if he goes down a lap here. And there's the front of the field.
5 seconds.
And before the race started, Joseph had a conversation with the crew wondering about this similar scenario. Let's listen.
Make sure we're ready here in wheel 1. These guys are going to go early, so be ready for the mess. Green.
That's Tim Cindric saying be ready for the mess. Joseph told me before he climbed in the car, I'm hoping they all crash in front of me and I can just scoot to the front. Unfortunately, they crashed not far enough in front of him, and he was a part of it.
Let's have a look at how that transpired. What a hectic opening lap. Check this out.
So you watch that blue and white car of Alex Palou is drafting up on the 2 Aero McLarens there with Marcus Armstrong. Palou opts to go 4 wide here. Backs out, and then I think Armstrong just turns across the bow of his teammate.
Maybe Dixon got into the back of Palou.
Was it Dixon or McLaughlin, maybe? Oh, sorry, I was thinking that spun Armstrong. It was McLaughlin in the 3. No, I think you're right. Just turned across the front of Palou. Dixon got in the back of him, and then Grosjean into the back of Dixon. That's what spins the orange and blue car around.
Yeah, Palou had to check up, so Dixon had nowhere to go. And then Newgarden, just kind of last one on the scene, ramps on top.
Oh, my. What a start to the Gallagher Grand Prix. Say you're going to see a whole lot more of that, but we've already seen it on this NASCAR IndyCar crossover weekend. Welcome back. We're just getting going, but already under caution because of a hectic, frantic first lap of the 85-lap Gallagher Grand Prix. Multiple cars involved in an incident. Most importantly, championship contender Joseph Newgarden. But guys, I want your vote, your opinion on this 23-year-old Canadian in that brightly colored Trubar machine. Devlin DiFrancesco, that's going to be one of the best outside moves in turn 1 you've ever seen here.
Let's take a look at it. DiFrancesco rolling off 5th inside row 3. How did he do this? He didn't even get a great start, James. He's in the draft, solidly back in 5th. looking inside, now looks 4 wide to the outside for the break zone.
I love that he had that run, then he backed out of it, lifted off to get all the way to the outside. He was just the deepest guy on the brakes. There's no two ways about it. That was a full send move if I've ever seen one. 4 wide there on the right-hand side. Graham Rahal was definitely not expecting to see the turquoise and purple car of Devlin DeFrancesco on the outside of one.
While we heap praise on DeFrancesco, watch Rahal here. Slight lockup, but Rahal gave him room.
Gave him room, and DeFrancesco had maybe a millimeter to spare to keep his left sides on the grass. As we take a look all the way back to the red and black number 12 of Will Power, who opts to skip potential chaos in the high-speed chicane and go for a little ollie.
Look up ahead.
Right,
Hello, Armstrong, Dixon. Boom. So Grosjean got into Dixon a little bit, then Armstrong, and there's Joseph Newgarden on the right. This is from Joseph's Hitachi Chevrolet.
Check up.
Yeah, you could hear he was on the brakes. The engine had died. He was full locked up, I think, in the rear, just kind of blindside. His sight line was covered by the number 14 of Ferrucci. And
yeah, if you wonder how that happens, you look at the eye level of Newgarden in the race car behind the aero screen, and look at how much higher the top of the rear wing is on an Indy car. You are blinded for a good ways when you're trailing another car like that. When everything stops in front of you, it comes as a shock, nowhere to go.
So Joseph Newgarden, unfortunately, finds himself not on the lead lap and is playing catch-up when he's trying to reduce the championship deficit to Alex Palou with just 3 races remaining at the end of today.
pit lane is open, and you see a lot of cars coming in to take it.
One of the reasons for that is probably to bail off the black tire, the harder compound tire, and opt for the Firestone Red. Softer, more grip, and we think the preferred tire for the race today.
Kevin Lee.
And also, this maybe opens up the chance of being able to get it done on 2 more stops. You need more yellow, but we're only about 4 or 5 laps away. With some fuel save, you could be able to get it done. You saw Romain Grosjean come in. They wanted to check the front wing. He was one of those with contact. They said, if it's okay, we're going to leave it. They felt it was okay. He's back out.
We're going to have to start keeping track of tires because, like you say, Townsend, there seems to be a preference of the alternate tire, the red sidewall Firestone, as being the preferred tire today. You have to run one of each compound, of course. You see Grosjean here on that block sidewall primary tire, that harder compound. But guys like Colin Herta, he wrote a set of those reds off because of that flat tire. So he's already at a deficit before this race is really even going.
I'm surprised that Grosjean's team didn't opt to bail on the black tire when they came to pit lane. But up front, all looking good for the 29.
Do you know what, Dylan Welsh? This man here we look at, Devlin DeFrancesco, up until today, had only ever led 1 lap in his young IndyCar career. He's now led 5. How good's that?
Yeah, it's awesome. It's been an awesome weekend. He had his career best qualifying effort of 5th yesterday, and talked with Scott Harner, his strategist. I said, so what's clicked this weekend? And he said, Dev loves this racetrack, first of all. The car has been really good so far. That's the second thing. But mainly, he's just really slowed down how he consumes the information. He's really locked in this weekend. He hasn't tried to do too much every single time he's on the racetrack. Now, you could argue going 4 wide into turn 1 was risking it, but he made it work. And the thing that I liked about that is after he made that move, he didn't get animated, didn't get excited. It's just business as usual, and now he's got the lead.
And 1 to go before we resume racing. I want to tell you about something that happened this week. Gallagher, Team Penske, and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway teamed up to teach local students at Ernie Pyle Elementary School about various aspects of what makes a successful IndyCar race, through lessons about racing safety, the importance of team communication, and the engineering aspects behind track design. Gallagher is proud to be the trusted insurance broker and risk manager of Team Penske, Penske Entertainment, and the title sponsor, of course, of the Gallagher Grand Prix. And this is the Gallagher Chevy of Scott McLaughlin. McLaughlin sits 7th at the moment. His teammate and good friend, Joseph Newgarden, has had a first lap. The Indy 500 winner has had a first lap that he would like to forget. Is that what ends his championship hopes in this 2023 season?
It's definitely not ideal, suboptimal, as they like to say in the engineering offices at IndyCar trailers, but it's going to be tough. This was a must-win situation for Joseph. He was incredibly frustrated after practice, after qualifying, as he's letting all the lead lap cars go by now. And this is the man that he's chasing, Alex Palou, who's been absolutely unstoppable on the road course this week. Joe, look, it looks like the graphics broken.
That's like the default for the graphics system, right? That can't be right.
Now you input the actual results. No, you're looking at what it's actually been for this driver. He has been absolutely on fire this season.
And we'd say when it's your turn, when it's your championship season, luck falls your way. Think about the cars that have already gone a lap down from that crash, and Palou, right there, P9, everything seems good.
And all he has to do is just stay where he is. Let's go racing. And we don't get to say this very often. It's Devlin DiFrancesco in the Andretti Steinbrenner Autosport Honda, leading the way over Graham Rahal and Pato Award. Look at the challenge here on the inside from Alexander Rossi.
That's on Christian Lundgaard in the black car on the right of your screen. That blue and orange McLaren going by on the inside of the Hy-Vee Honda. Great move on that restart. Alexander Rossi on a tear.
But watch Lundgaard here. He's all over the back of Rossi. Rossi has to turn narrow there for turn 4. This might give a chance for Lundgaard to have a really good run coming to the brake zone in turn 7.
Won his maiden IndyCar race this year, did Christian Lundgaard in that black and red Hy-Vee Honda. Pops out of the draft, thought about it on last year's winner, Alexander Rossi. Rossi ended a 3-year drought here a year ago by winning. It brought such relief. And it was coupled with his 2016 victory of the Indianapolis 500 to win again at the Brickyard. It was special. Then you go back to Felix Rosenqvist. So all three Arrow McLaren Chevys are running nicely in the top 6 positions. And then McLaughlin, last week's winner Kyle Kirkwood, Alex Palou, and Jack Harvey in the top 10.
Great to see that third RLL car up there as well. That's all 3 of them up in the top 10. We talked about the month of May these guys had at the top of the show. The Grand Prix was strong. It was the 500 where they struggled, but now Graham Rahal all over the back.
Look at Graham. Here he comes up the inside of the 29. Graham Rahal to the front where he started.
And Alexander Rossi on his teammate in the background. So Rossi goes to 3rd. Rahal goes to 1st. It is game on. And this is going to be a very entertaining afternoon.
And that pass of Rahal on DiFrancesco, that was the red tires versus the black tires. Now Rossi on Pato Award, his teammate.
Let's go, buddy.
That was red tires on the black tires. So you're seeing that advantage, Townsend, of that softer, alternate red sidewall compound, as now you can see Pato having to defend from Christian Lundgaard.
Quick ride there aboard the Hy-Vee Honda. It's getting fast and frantic. McLaughlin in that bright blue car is coming up on the back. And DiFrancesco, he's gone back another position. Rossi is the man on the move.
This is why we've been saying that the red tire, probably the preferred compound. But like James said, you have to run both. How long will they keep Devlin DiFrancesco out on track when he's clearly a bit handicapped? You want to get to about lap 12 to 13 before you can pit.
You're not overrun the tires. We got to stay up here. We got to get to our target.
That's exactly what the spotter's given DiFrancesco. He's about to lose another spot here. Up, Pato Award pops out and goes back, but look at Rosenqvist on Lundgaard.
Look out, was there contact? Good avoidance, well done. The NTT Chevy of Felix Rosenqvist was challenging Denmark's Christian Lundgaard, and he thought about it again.
Brave place to try to chuck it up the inside there for Felix Rosenqvist, and he's on those harder black tires. Doesn't have as much grip.
There you go.
By the way, in IndyCar competition, you must compete on each compound at least once under green flag conditions. You have to run the primary harder compound tire. You have to run the softer alternate compound tire under green flag conditions within the race. You can't just do the same one the entire duration. So, running lap 10 of 85, Graham Rahal in the Code 3 Associates Honda leads Alexander Rossi. Can he defend his win of a year ago and bring up his first victory in Arrow McLaren colours? Wouldn't that be special? Here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You're watching USA's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Gallagher. Insurance Risk Management Consulting, helping you face your future with confidence. Shell Renewable Race Fuel, powering progress at 225 miles per hour. And by NTT, official sponsor and technology partner, the NTT IndyCar Series. Lee Diffie, Townsend Bell, James Hinchcliffe with you. Kevin Lee and Dylan Welsh on a warm and humid afternoon here in Indy for the Gallagher Grand Prix. And yes, you're looking at the American Legion Honda of Alex Palou, the championship leader, who was in a little bit of trouble momentarily during the break. Check this out as he makes a move on Devlin DeFrancesco.
Now, looked pretty straightforward at first, but DeFrancesco starting to get his elbows out a little bit. And I'm sure Palou is thinking to himself, uh-oh, I've got Newgarden down, but not out. A lap down is Newgarden. Palou could literally just cruise through the rest of this afternoon, and he just narrowly avoided a much bigger situation with car-to-car contact there. Now Palou gets past into turn one.
As Ericsson goes by Kyle Kirkwood there. Kyle Kirkwood in that pink Honda, the red and white of Marcus Ericsson up ahead. Now we're on board with Jack Harvey, the custom entertainment on board as he heads into turn 4. Looking at the back of, who's he by? Was that Kirkwood?
Kirkwood? Dylan.
So getting a look at Devlin DeFrancesco. He has lost a couple spots. He's on the primary tires, but this was the radio communication just a couple laps ago.
You got to manage this. You have to manage it, bub. You can do this. Just settle in there. We're all right. We're all right. You've got your rear bars. You need a little more help.
So part of the challenge, right, when you're not accustomed to running up front is just understanding the pace that the leaders are setting, what kind of pace you have to run to match that. They also reminded him, a lot of guys around you have used push to pass. We haven't yet, so we're doing okay.
Hey, not too far behind these guys is the rookie Linus Lundqvist, who there dives into the pits. Kyle Kirkwood. Linus was right there with him. So Kirkwood made a lunge on Palou and DeFrancesco earlier, but then has decided to come into the pits now here after 14 laps. And Dylan Welsh is standing by. The Nashville winner is headed your way.
So Brian Herta, the strategist, was talking earlier today about the need to basically just have a car that's better than the tires are. It doesn't really matter what the designation is as long as your car is good. They wanted to start blacks to see what the red tires were going to do here in this early stint, and they'll make the tire change and make the switch to reds, Kevin.
Will Power is a 5-time winner, a 6-time pole sitter, but started way in the back, so he wants to get a little bit off strategy. He has a very close call with Malukas coming in. They avoid contact. It's Shell Fuel and Firestones for Will Power back out.
Tell you what, check out Graham Rahal enjoying the clear space out in front, but Alexander Rossi is reeling him in. The defending race winner is starting to hunt down the Code 3 Associates Honda. There's Rossi in the papaya and light blue Arrow McLaren machine. The Chevy, he is on the hunt. And look, it is a source of frustration for him that he went away from the only team he'd ever driven for in IndyCar to join the Arrow McLaren squad. He's yet to bring up a victory. He was just asked how the car was. He said, not bad. Here's his teammate, Felix Rosenqvist.
They've been pretty happy with their race car all weekend. They'll switch to reds here. Billy Vincent said they put 20 laps on a set of reds with the heat cycle on them, so they're really confident about their pace on these alternate tires the longer they go.
That was a sticker set, a brand new set going on to the number 6 of Felix Rosenqvist. Only sticker set he'll have available to him.
Graham Rahal stays out lap 16, so if you're Rahal starting on reds, you're going to try to stretch this stint to about lap 24, 25. Kevin Colbert is in with you.
And that's already his second stop. That's because he's got 2 sets of the sticker red, the softer alternate compound. So he's going to come in this time and trying to do a little bit different. And then meanwhile, we see issues with the AJ Foyt car of Santino Ferrucci. He left with the air hose attached, so that's tangled up. They've got to get that sorted and losing all kinds of precious.
Kevin, and the gun.
The gun was wedged under the right front wing as the AJ Foyt crew desperately trying to free Ferrucci from the leash.
Sorry, bud. Our bad there.
Oh, what a bummer.
I wonder if that was the outside front, just didn't get tossed all the way back in front of the car before it was released. But now Pato O'Ward is in the pits, Kev.
So this is a little bit different than what I expected. Pato wanted to go as long as he could. He said mostly, we just need to do something a little bit different. He didn't think he had the outright pace for the 3 in front of him, and he was hoping the fact that they're starting on alternates. He was going to try to go long on the primaries. What he did tell me is he goes to sticker alternates. He said, I don't want to have the fuel save today.
Out he goes, highest qualifying Arrow McLaren Chevy driver. Meanwhile, his teammate is in pursuit of the race leader, Graham Rahal. What a refreshing experience and a refreshing weekend for the IndyCar veteran. Hasn't had a win in 6 years. He hadn't had a pole in 6 years. He took care of that stat yesterday. But this is, instead of having that feeling, T-Bell, like I've got to dig my way through the field. How nice it must be to be at the front.
Oh, there's nothing better. Nobody to deal with except the pure, clean Indiana summer air, working those wings front and rear. This is exactly what a race car was designed to do, an Indy car was designed to do, and this is not what Graham Rahal was designed to do. As you look back to Indy 500 qualifying weekend on bump day, bumped out, and then yesterday, literally within 10 feet of the same spot, Rahal celebrating with his family a pole position. Dylan.
Devlin DeFrancesco, and they're going to make a turn and a half of front wing for the red tires as well. He had a little bit of a clutch issue at the start. You saw the car hesitate there again.
Well, no matter what happens with the rest of Devlin DeFrancesco's afternoon here at Indy, we will always remember that lap 1, turn 1, outside move. That was exhilarating.
See how Devlin does here. It looks like his teammate Kyle Kirkwood, who had pitted earlier to go to the Reds, is going to breeze on by here, along with, I think that is Will Power in the 12, who continues to march forward. Biggest mover so far, Ryan Hunter-Reay up 12 positions, along with Stingray Robb. Here's the blend out. Rinus VeeKay we're on board with now. That's DeFrancesco up ahead.
Race winner here, Rinus VeeKay, back in 2020.
Nice easy move. Dev still on cold tires there. Not really much of a fight he can put up.
So looking at the body of work hinch on tires so far, absolutely a red race. The blacks just not doing anything for you. You want to run those as short a stint as possible, as Rahal and Rossi started on reds, still on reds, and they will probably go to blacks on this next stop and maybe only try to run them for 12 or 13 laps.
Hey, talking about Indy 500 winners, here is the 4-time Indy 500 winner, Helio Castroneves. He pits and was part of a major news announcement yesterday from Meyer Shank Racing. He will not be a full-time IndyCar driver next year. He will still be with this team in his pursuit of a record-breaking 5th Indy 500 win. He is now going to be a minority stakeholder in the organization. And Tom Blomqvist, the 2-time Rolex 24 at Daytona winner and reigning IMSA prototype champion, is going to be in this seat. Exciting times for the sports car race, and for the veteran and legend Helio, he said, I'm not going anywhere, and I want to make it clear, I'm not retiring. I'm happy to race anything, and I'm going to be back here next Memorial Day weekend to try and get my 5th 500 win. Great stuff.
Green flag pit stops continue. Alexander Rossi pits from the 2nd spot. He'll take the alternates off, put a set of sticker black tires on him. Rossi's been happy with his race car. He said, let's get to work.
And Rossi's been running around in the wheel tracks of Graham Rahal, not really able to close up much more than a second, but because he could hang there, it makes you think he had a little bit more pace in that car. Once you get within a second, Townsend, as you know, it's so hard. You're losing downforce, and it's so hard to maintain. So a smart move to get out, try to get in some clean air, and knock off some clean laps here.
There you see Pato O'Ward on board as Rossi exits turn 1 comfortably in the lead. That's the blend battle, which Rossi clearly dominating. You got to think that Pato O'Ward now on hot reds. He'll make up a little bit of this gap on his teammate, but with Rossi out there right now on the black tire, O'Ward is going to be able to reel him in.
And he comfortably got out. He, being Alexander Rossi, comfortably got out ahead of that bright blue car you see in the background. That is Scott McLaughlin, who pitted during the break as well in the Gallagher Chevy for Team Penske. Came so close to winning last weekend in Nashville.
So McLaughlin surprised me a bit. He went red, so he still hasn't satisfied the tire requirement, as the rookie Linus Lundqvist now down pit lane. Kevin, this guy has been impressive in just 2 IndyCar race weekends.
And he has inserted himself very much in the free agent game with about 2/3 of the seats open for next year. A lot of people are talking about Lundqvist in his 2nd IndyCar race. Very few pit stops for experience. He's in and out. He's moved forward so far in the 1st stint, so Michael Shank continues to be impressed.
Yeah, well done. Well done. It didn't end the way that Linus Lundqvist wanted to last weekend. He had a late race crash into the wall. It was an unforced error, so to speak. But other than that, everyone remembers
here we go. We're going to have
how
some traffic
impressive he
on your
was.
left.
Spotter coming into play there. I think that was Barry Waddell.
It was indeed.
The voice of the veteran Barry Waddell saying, hey, traffic is going to come into play here. Be careful there. This young man, as we ride on board with, thanks to Auto Nation, has done a phenomenal job.
Barry Waddell from, I think, Evansville, Indiana, just about 2 hours south of here, has been coaching drivers since I started. He was my driver coach back at Skip Barber over 25 years ago. He's still doing it today, one of the best in the business, and he's coaching up Linus Lundqvist to great effect. And that's what you want as a rookie, is just give me the information and tell me what I need to do to keep us on strategy.
And on this NASCAR IndyCar crossover weekend, Barry was very influential and instrumental in the early career of A.J. Allmendinger, who has won here on this crossover weekend a couple of times.
Graham Rahal just comfortably out there running laps. He's actually picked up a little bit of pace. He's the third quickest car on the racetrack last time by. Keeping in mind those other cars have pit, but with that pit, you pick up more fuel. More fuel is more weight, and weight is the enemy in a race car when it comes to lap time, as you see Joseph Newgarden ahead of him. But he's in now, guys. The leader, Graham Rahal, dives into the pits. Lap 24. That's how far you could take these alternate tires. That's a big step.
He had 2.8 seconds on his teammate Christian Lundgaard, who now goes to the front. Lundgaard will have his head down now, trying to click off the quickest laps possible.
And Graham has been so happy with his race car's pace on old tire runs. He'll get shell fuel. He'll go to a set of used primary tires for Rahal here. He goes back out.
Think about the crew on the 15, the feeling they must have servicing that car while in the lead. Awesome. They haven't experienced that in such a long time. So enjoy it. They executed brilliantly. And here comes Graham. It's a long old crawl down pit road at Indy, and you're looking for Alexander Rossi in the background. Here comes Rossi.
This could be tight-ish, maybe not. Looks like Rossi will have the point as Graham exits and accelerates.
Yeah, it's going to be close.
Here they go for the lead of the race. Alexander Rossi on hot tires, up to speed. Graham Rahal with that delicate dance.
Rossi very conservative there. I thought he'd be firing in a little bit stronger into turn 4 as Rahal looks lightning quick on the outlap.
That's really impressive. You see Alexander Rossi's right thumb going up to that green button there. That's the overtake. You get 200 seconds for the entire race. You got to manage it. But with those hot tires that Alexander Rossi has, you'd think that he had more of an advantage. He's closing up to this difficult 7, 8, 9, 10 section. The S's here as now Alex Palou has reached down to pit lane. But so far, so good for Graham. He's managed to keep Rossi behind him. That's a very good outlap so far. And now we'll see what Palou can do as the number 10 crew goes to work. Kevin.
And we're also seeing that some definitely think this is a red race. Otto Ward pitted earlier, took used reds. Alex Palou goes from sticker reds. This is a used set for him this time out. And this is softer, so it normally doesn't last quite as long, but it doesn't appear to be that much of a disparity. They are lasting long enough to make it work here this weekend, and they're quicker than the blacks.
Look in the background there on the right-hand side of your screen. McLaughlin building a challenge to the Arrow McLaren. Can't quite do it as Palou exits the lane.
This could get spicy here with Alex Palou coming out on cold tires. There goes Pato Award. There's Palou. Such a great drone shot. Through turn 4, McLaughlin chasing Rosenqvist.
It's amazing how much your car handling is affected through that long, fast turn 4 when you're that close to the car in front. Scott McLaughlin, that light blue car at the top of your screen, is really struggling to keep pace with that orange and blue McLaren, as we see Christian Lundgaard now from the effective lead of the race is in there. Dylan, how's he going to do?
Well, he stays out a couple laps longer to try to capitalize on the clean air. They'll take a set of alternates off, put another set of alternates on. This is a used set here. A little bit of a hiccup maybe on the right rear, waiting on that, waiting on the shell fuel. Lundgaard's down. We'll watch the blend.
Down below, Graham Rahal, the onboard. Up top, that's Lundgaard exiting the pit box. They should meet somewhere down near turn 1.
Here it's going to be close and pit out with Christian.
Remember, Graham had 2.8 seconds to the good on Lundgaard, and Rahal maintains the gap.
We saw Christian Lundgaard right before the start of this broadcast. He was very confident and feeling good about his chances up against not only Alexander Rossi, who is challenging now straight out of the pits on the Arrow McLaren driver. and he thinks he may have an advantage on his teammate. We'll find out.
Rossi went a bit wide coming off of 4, not expecting that attack on the red tires from Christian Lundgaard. Here we go, the blast down to turn 7, defensive from Rossi. Lundgaard to the outside.
Outside, can he switch back here? Switch back. Lundgaard's looking for an opportunity on Alexander Rossi.
And Rossi knows exactly where he needs to place his car to be in the way of Christian Lundgaard without running afoul of the blocking rules. Great job from Rossi.
Keep the pressure on.
Just saw radio transmission from Christian Lundgaard, maybe talking about Alex fading back in the brake zone there down into turn 7.
I think what they're telling him, Ricardo Nolt on the radio with Lundgaard, is saying Rossi's on black, so keep the pressure on. You can see Lundgaard only 1 lap out of the pits, but he's still hanging right on the tail of this Aero McLaren.
Now, Christian Lundgaard, he started on those alternate tires.
Here we go.
He hasn't satisfied it yet, but lining up now, it's going to be a race on the brakes. Alex so deep on those primaries, but the extra grip of the alternates makes that move happen. But remember,
Ready to come back.
as I was saying, he has gone red. He hasn't run the primaries yet, Christian Lundgaard. So out in the next stop, he's going to have to do that. He's going to have to pay the piper with that primary stint.
It's not going to take Lundgaard long, Diff, to reel in his teammate Graham Rahal, I think, on those black tires. Rahal's last lap, a 1:13.6 on the blacks.
I'm going to say this as we take a look at some Firestone telemetry aboard Alexander Rossi, the Mission Food onboards. Christian Lundgaard talks as it is. He gives it to you straight. If it's not good, he'll tell you it's not good. If it's great, he'll tell you it's great. When we saw him pre-race, he was very optimistic about his chances.
Yeah,
and he wouldn't be like that lightly.
And he knew that he had an advantage by way of Graham getting a lockup and qualifying on a set of reds. Lundgaard knows he's in a better tire situation, and now you can see just in 1 lap, he's gapped Rossi by about 2 seconds. Meanwhile, Dixon had damage on lap 1, pitted. He's sort of off the strategy of the leaders, pitted on lap 5, so he will have to stop probably 2, maybe 3 more times to make it to the end.
And it's going back to that Christian Lundgaard point, the tire situation. Graham flat spotted and ruined a set of those alternates.
Will be risky.
Which means, you know, we've talked about the preferred tire is the alternate. I think Graham's going to have to do 2 stints on the primary. That is a huge handicap for the number 15.
Waiting for Dixon and Grosjean to come in, and that'll cycle Rahal straight back to the top. You're watching USA's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Hy-Vee. This racing season, you can help Hy-Vee reach their goal of 100 million meals by visiting Hy-Vee.com. Code 3 Associates, proud partner of Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan Racing. When disaster strikes animals, Code 3 answers the calls. And by Liberty Mutual Insurance, only pay for what you need. Joseph Newgarden in the Hitachi Chevy is in. What did you see, Kevin Lee?
He went from primaries to sticker alternates, and it's about getting what you can. He's a lap down after being involved in the contact at the start of the race. He was the one that had the best chance to catch Alex Palou in the championship. He's still the Indy 500 winner, but as we've said, that's not enough. That's not going to be a good one today.
It was a tough one right from pretty much the very first practice session. The car was not all that compliant. They just didn't hit that sweet spot, and then that kept going in qualifying as well. They felt they had a better race car. That's being displayed by Will Power and his teammate Scott McLaughlin. All 3 Penske's felt they were going to be better in the race, but Joseph didn't even get a chance because on lap 1 of this race, right through the next turn he's about to take, there was a car broadside. It was Marcus Armstrong, and right here he had contact with many other cars as well as Scott Dixon finally dives for the pits.
Yeah, Dixon was hoping for some more yellow after having to pit as part of that accident that Newgarden was caught up with. So Dixon will come in, but I think he'll have to make 2 more stops to get to the end.
Kevin Lee standing by for the man who has just started his 319th consecutive IndyCar race.
Just one lone race at Milwaukee in 2004 where he crashed twice. He said, I actually was a little bit banged up. I'm not sure I could have gone, but it was time to go home for the weekend. But what a career this guy has had. And for this race today, he's got another set of sticker reds in his back pocket. These are used.
Guys, you both raced against Scott Dixon. We all know him well. But just listen to these numbers. During that streak, that started when he was just 24 years old. He's now 43. He's racked up 49 wins, 121 podiums, 179 top fives, and turned more than 43,000 racing laps.
And I think what's so amazing and admirable about Scott Dixon is with the incredible success, he's the ultimate definition of just do your job. You will not see him out and about. He is not at award shows. He is not on social media. He is just about this, being the very best racing driver that he can be and gobbling up as many wins, as many championships, and as many consecutive starts as he can string together.
Yeah, he beat the record set by good friend Tony Kanaan. It was 318, so this was 319 for Scott. And like you said to him during the warm-up laps when he spoke to him, he just likes driving race cars, man. So that's all he wants to do, spend time with his family, drive race cars, and win in race cars. And he's pretty good at all of that.
Let's talk more about the race leading Code 3 Associates Honda from Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan. Dylan.
So Hinch mentioned that Rahal will have to run black tires back-to-back stints. So here's why. On his pole run yesterday, they actually blistered a left front tire on their red set that they were going to use in the race today. So they're effectively down a set of red tires, or one of their preferred set of red tires that they wanted to use in the race today. Now, not a huge problem. Grant thinks the blacks are still good, but not an ideal situation for them on the tire selection.
Maybe not ideal in terms of options, but Graham Rahal doing a fantastic job backing up what you just said, Dylan. You look at the last 3 laps, very little to choose from between the softer red and the harder black tire. Maybe a 1/10 of an advantage for Lundgaard. Maybe that's why Lundgaard's just being patient at this point. Lundgaard will have to run the blacks because he's gone red to start. So this battle is probably going to go all the way to the end. It's about consistency and staying within the tire grip limit.
Yeah, this is the key stint right now for Rahal. If he can keep Christian Lundgaard behind him, the next stint, they'll both have to be on the primaries. It'll be even matched from there on out, and it'll be a set of reds at the end of the race to let the best man win. So this is exactly what he needs to do, and he's doing a great job, as is this driver right here, Kyle Kirkwood, in that pink and white Auto Nation Honda for Andretti Autosport. Started back in 13th position. Masterclass strategy call last race in Nashville, gave this car the win. But what I like about where the 27 is, as he's stocked by the number 8 red and white Husky Ice Spritz car from Marcus Ericsson, is qualifying 13th. He's got an extra set of sticker reds. We've heard that of a couple drivers, one of the highest starting cars to have that extra set of sticker reds, so he's in a good spot as well.
Townsend, you know how you said about Dixon, just go do your job? I spoke at length with Kyle Kirkwood earlier this week, and I said, last week, you know, in your road to Indy, you just won. Rookie last year with AJ Foyt Racing, you had flashes of brilliance, but it was a tough season. You come here, you're now a 2-time IndyCar winner. He said to me, I haven't changed, but what is different is you just have a different surround, and I've got that inner faith, and you believe in the people around you, the organization, and I believe in myself, and it was, you know, you just stay calm. Does that make sense? Just stay calm and let it happen, and it happens?
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, Kyle Kirkwood, only driver in this field that surfing is his passion. So there's a lot of zen to this guy, and despite his success, I don't think he wants to get overtaken with a bunch of appearances and responsibilities either, because that's going to kill his time in the water doing his second love, which is riding the shortboard to great effect. So Kyle Kirkwood finds tremendous balance by being in the water, being out among nature, and he wants to just win races and do his job too, so he can't lose his hobby.
And he's nicely in the top 10 in the championship in points too. There's a QR code on the right-hand side of your screen. If you grab your mobile device now and scan it, you can be in with a chance to win a Corvette with thanks to Hy-Vee and Gatorade. This has been a comp that's been going all season long. 3 have been given away of the 4 up for grabs so far, so that means there's still 1 left for you. Scan that QR code and good luck. Welcome back. You're watching the Gallagher Grand Prix, all 85 laps of it, and the Nashville winner from a week ago, Kyle Kirkwood, hits pit lane. Here he comes in the Auto Nation Honda. Dylan Welsh, he's headed your way.
And Brian Herta said we can get to the top 5 if things go like we have them drawn up. They're on pace to do that right now. They'll go to a used set of Firestones here, Shell Fuel going in. They'll have, actually, it looks like they're going to put the sticker set on for Kirkwood. So they'll have 2 sets of reds, and the first one goes on here, and they'll have another one to the finish.
So we were talking about, based on where he qualified, he was going to have that extra set of stickers, so they've gone on there. Another strategy call. That communication happens between the driver and the pit stand to decide which tires to use next.
And it's fluid because it depends, too, on where you're going to come out in traffic. Maybe if they thought Kirkwood would be trapped, they run the U set, but they think he's got some clean pavement here where he can make hay with fresh tires and try to take advantage of that grip in clean air and make that aggregate lap time work to his advantage.
Meanwhile, back up at the front, Graham Rahal leading over teammate Christian Lundgaard. That lead is down to 3/4 of a second. So Townsend, you said it. It was a couple tenths a lap closing that gap. Rahal's just got to hang on to that pit stop as we see 2 McLarens in. Pato O'Ward at the top, at the bottom. Alexander Rossi at the top, Dylan.
And Rossi was on the primaries and said, I have got to get these off. We are struggling here, so they'll put a used set of alternates on for Rossi, Kevin.
And a little bit of a vibration that's in for Pato O'Ward, but not too bad. It's another set of alternates. They are used. Remember, the vaunted Arrow McLaren team has not won yet this year. They got a couple of chances today.
Looked like Rossi's right front was having a little bit of an issue getting the wheel nut back on as Pato O'Ward grows his advantage over his teammate. Here comes Roman Grosjean, who will blend with Pato O'Ward. Grosjean currently sitting 10th. Here's Colton Herta.
He's in again, Kevin Lee.
So Herta is off strategy because they got caught up in the mess at the beginning of the race, so they're just trying to make something happen. But they're back on pace to do it on one more stop, but they still got a lot of track position to try to make up.
Keep an eye, too, on Scott Dixon just cycling his way up. He was caught up on that lap 1 multi-car incident as well, and he keeps creeping his way forward. Well, watch him big picture-wise as Herta rejoins in the Gamebridge Honda. There's 45 laps to go here at Indy. There is the PNC Bank Honda. Just going about it in a very workmanly fashion.
He is. You got to wonder just how much fuel he's trying to save. Are they committed to trying to stretch it, make a miracle happen? I just don't think it's possible unless they got a ton of yellow to make this work. Dixon going out right now. Let's take a look at Dixon's lap time. A 13.8. That doesn't look like huge fuel save to me, but nobody knows how to go fast on less gas than this guy.
Yeah, about 27 laps is kind of the break-even point on whether you can make it to the end or it's faster to do a splash. So we see Devlin DiFrancesco, who had that monster start, incredible first lap there. He comes in for a fresh set of primaries. But like you say, Dixon can save fuel like the best of them. If he can make it all the way with till 27 to go, that gives him a shot at trying to get home.
What a day for the Trubar Honda for Devlin DiFrancesco. He was Mr. Excitement on the opening lap. The opening turn went all the way around, went 4 wide, and then went around the pole center of the then brief race leader, Graham Rahal. There's Graham on the right-hand side of your screen, and he's got that Hy-Vee Honda, the black mobile, in his rear-view mirrors. Just 1.2 seconds between the teammates.
But right out of his aero screen is lap traffic too, James, so this could get very interesting.
Now, I think Marcus Armstrong, who's that red and white car immediately in front of the leader, he's a full lap down to the whole field. And why that's important is if you're just a lap...
Stay out 1 lap if you can. Just let us know.
If you're a lap...
Staying out.
Here we go. Graham's staying out. If you're just a lap down to the leader or a few cars on the lead lap, you still have access to your push to pass to defend your position. If you're a lap down to the entire field, which means essentially he's about to go 2 laps down, that means your push to pass is disabled by race control. So Graham should, in theory, be able to make quick work of both him, and I believe that's Benjamin Peterson in front of him, who's 4 laps down already.
But Graham is within fuel range to make it on one more stop if he were to stop now, so I would think you'd want to pull him in and get him out of lap traffic so as not to burn down the lap time. But they've got the control, RLL does, with teammate Christian Lundgaard behind, so in a way they can kind of choreograph when these 2 drivers pit. Here comes Graham Rahal with an excellent draft up the front straight.
He's had a nice advantage on the push to pass over his teammate Christian Lundgaard. He just burned about 10 seconds there to get around Marcus Armstrong, but Lundgaard's going to have to do the same thing. It's 95 to 85 right now, Graham to Christian.
Alex Palou from 3rd is on pit lane. Kevin Lee is standing by.
The driver that's averaging 3.25 for his results this season, never finished worse than 8th, and is in the mix for another good result today. Also, we're going to see Scott McLaughlin pit this time around. Several still in play. One more stop to go after this. Palou is going to release from closer to the middle of pit lane. And now at the very end of pit lane, Scott McLaughlin gets out right behind Alex Palou.
So, 43 to go here at the Brickyard.
Stay out, crowd, stay out.
The call is to stay out for the race leader, Graham Rahal.
It's a good call. He's got a little bit of gap between him and Colton Hurd, the next car on track. Graham's just coming through the last corner on the racetrack. But look at this battle right here.
Palou and Rossi fighting it out. Rossi with the upper hand at the moment. The championship leader chasing the defending race winner here at the Gallagher Grand Prix.
You saw that graphic at the start for road courses this season. Last 3 victory, all 3 for Alex Palou, who you're looking at out the back of Rossi's car. I don't know if he's got a win on the cards right now, but he wants to keep that 3.25 finish average as good as possible. It doesn't want to make his worst finish of 8th any worse.
Well, what a season he's having. Palou has hit no fewer than 2 cars so far in this race. And that number 10 working just fine on lap time. Meanwhile, Graham Rahal working just fine here on lap 44.
It's looking great, man. A second and a half. The gap's actually grown as Christian Lundgaard had to get around that lap car of Marcus Armstrong. So far, so good. Like we said, primaries.
Staying out is the call from Graham Rahal.
And I think Graham knows that based on his tire situation to finish this race, he wants, if the pace is good, if you've got fuel, just keep running this pace and shorten the remaining stints as much as he can. Dylan, what do you know?
Yeah, so that's what they're discussing. They said that we can go longer on this stint. We have the fuel for it, and as you guys indicated, once he's gotten past Armstrong, the lap car, the gap has grown a little bit. So this is just all kind of trying to plan themselves and put themselves in the best position for later in the race if they can help it.
Officially into the second half of the Gallagher Grand Prix. What a day it's been for Graham Rahal. He's led 28 laps of the 44 thus far, just to go on from his pole position. So, keeping a watchful eye on the RLL teammates in relation to the others. And through this cycle, with the likes of Rossi stopping and Palou and others, Scott Dixon has cycled his way up to 3rd in that PNC Bank Honda. And then Pato O'Ward, Marcus Ericsson, and others. But is it all down to the 2 RLL teammates, or is there going to be a spoiler?
Now, right now, RLL teammates, if this thing stays green, this is simply between Graham Rahal and Christian Lundgaard. And I think both those drivers know that. They know how good their teammate car is. They know they've had a nice little advantage. They've got the pace. They also know their respective tire situations. Christian Lundgaard told me right before this race, hey, Townsend, you picked me to win? Good call. Here's why. And he told me about the tire advantage. He feels like this thing is in his hands to control.
Hey, Hinch, can I throw a curveball at you?
Hit me.
Weather is coming.
Oh, don't say that.
Ugly weather is coming. I can see it here out of our windows. We'll check the radar when we come back. What a time Graham Rahal is having out front. The 34-year-old American, the son of a famous racing father. Well, now Graham is a father of 2 himself. His daughters have a famous dad. And Graham is enjoying life at the front of the Gallagher Grand Prix. Life at the front of a race for the first time in a long time. And it is such a breath of fresh air for him. He's led 31 laps today. We're expecting him to pit any lap now. He has been in control of this race. And now he dives for the pits.
He knew when he was catching the tail of Santino Ferrucci that this is probably the time. Dylan, Graham Rahal will come. The pressure is on the crew.
It is, and you're exactly right. They wanted to make sure that the lap time didn't slow down too much with the traffic. They'll go to a set of used primaries here. This may allow them to kind of short stint this second to last stint here as they went long on this run. So Rahal's down and away.
And James, you know the feeling, the anxious moments when you're a driver and you're looking in your mirrors and you're thinking, come on, just let's just be smooth. No bobbles here, guys. And they were perfect on that one.
The motto in pit stops is slow is smooth and smooth is fast.
Yeah.
And so it's all you got to do is don't let the pressure of the situation get to you. The 15 crew did a phenomenal job there. It wasn't the most lightning fast stop you've ever seen, but it doesn't have to be. It just can't have any mistakes, no issues. And this is a great pit stop from the 15 crew. Now Graham just needs to put his head down. You've got lots of clear racetrack in front of him. Look at that, Townsend. He could just hammer down, head down, and try and open that gap up to Lundgaard.
That's going to be the next exchange that catches our focus, is when Christian Lundgaard stops again. Where is it going to be? Let's go for a ride on the Hy-Vee Honda.
He stayed out on those reds, and just like Graham Rahal was in control, now the balance of power falls into Christian Lundgaard's lap. He also has a great gap in front of him. Clean air. That next car, again, Santino Ferrucci up front. Taking a look at the Firestone telemetry. Look at that nice, smooth brake trail. Nice, smooth throttle control. And the decision is in Christian's hands. How's your pace? How's your tire degradation? You tell us when it's time to pit.
He's always been confident, but now he has the label of an IndyCar race winner, courtesy of that victory in Toronto, and that elevates your confidence to a whole new level. Stay out one more is the call from the pits.
I'm watching that gap to Graham Rahal, which is shrinking. Graham doing an excellent job on pace, now under 35 seconds. About 37 seconds is the gap or the time loss on pit lane in this battle between Rosenqvist and Kyle Kirkwood heating up.
Yeah, Graham's burning a lot of push to pass on this outlap to do it, but that's the name of the game. That's the time to use it. For that very reason, Townsend, you got to close that gap. You see there in your pylon who's got the most push to pass left. It's Scott Dixon. He's a little bit off strategy at the moment with 79 to 64. Lundgaard to Rahal. That's the one we got to keep an eye on.
Just the one caution in this race, and that was on the opening lap. They trailed behind the safety car for a handful of laps after that. But since then, it has been green flag racing the entire way in the Gallagher Grand Prix. Back on board with the race leader.
And look at that gap. Graham Rahal, another half a second to the good over Lundgaard.
The battle between the teammates.
Graham was 0.7 of a second faster than Christian Lundgaard on that last lap. Both cars in clear air. We're seeing the 45 of Christian Lundgaard start to catch some lap traffic as Santino Ferrucci just flashing off your screen there. But this Hy-Vee Honda might be looking to pit. Here he is. That is it. He saw that traffic coming. That was going to slow him down more. They saw Graham's lap time on those primaries. So now in the driver's hands. Hit the pit lane speed markers absolutely spot on. We're seeing a brake balance adjustment. That's what he's doing with his right hand there. Going from used tires to new tires. He's predicting already what it's going to be like. Making that brake balance adjustment, the percentage of the brake pressure that goes front to rear. And now Dylan, he's in the pit box.
And the 45 boy is going to need a perfect stop here. The blend is going to be really close. The Delta is right on the number. They'll go to a used black set here for Lundgaard. They need to wait and get the fuel in, and then we'll see where he blends when he pulls out.
That fueler was shaking his head like it was taking him a little longer. Here comes Graham Rahal out of turn 14.
11 seconds on the stop to Graham 7.6. This is going to be an easy one for Graham Rahal. The question is Pato O'Ward going to get by the 45 as well? You see that orange and black McLaren at the right-hand side of your screen. He's going to get him.
What happened to the fuel fill?
That did not go to plan for the Hy-Vee Honda, and not only did it not go to plan, he's now lost second place as the Arrow McLaren Chevy of Pato O'Ward slides in there.
Should have taken 7.5, 8 seconds. Instead, over 10.
So that is music to the ears of Graham Rahal. Here's Grosjean, Kev.
And he was one of those that came in and topped up on lap 5, so he's still going to need another stop. But Scott Dixon pitted on lap 5. He has another 7 laps or so before he needs to pit, so Dixon is still in play.
Dixon out in the lead. He's off strategy from these guys, Rahal, O'Ward, and also Lundgaard. Let's go back and put the spotlight on the Lundgaard pit stop.
see the fueler's hand down there. It's almost like he has to hold the butterfly open manually.
Okay. All right, fall push, fall push. Push past everything I got. Let's look at that spear. What's going on, guys?
Yeah, you saw his left hand go down and almost rotate.
From inside the car, you're sitting there as a driver. A pit stop feels like it's taking an eternity anyway. So I'm not even sure Christian has a good sense of how long that stop really was. But he'll see on the racetrack, he's now not just further behind Graham, but behind on track with Pato O'Ward.
It was a head shake from Roland, the refueler. We'll follow this story as we show you this pit stop differential powered by NTT between the teammates.
Yeah, you look at the pit in lap, almost nothing to choose between the two, but time on pit lane, that was the killer. 3.1 seconds slower was Christian Lundgaard than Graham Rahal. Graham doing a great job on the out lap. So this thing is in the big American hands of Graham Rahal right now, doing a great job.
What a weekend. What a lot of fun we're having here in Indy on this NASCAR IndyCar crossover weekend. All the NASCAR haulers right there. What a colorful scene. And it has been an action-packed day with NASCAR Xfinity Series action, NASCAR Cup practice and qualifying. And here we are here right in the meat of the Gallagher Grand Prix for the NTT IndyCar Series. There's a young man from Monterrey, Mexico, who sits third in this race. That's Pato O'Ward. There's another driver from Monterrey, Mexico, who's going to start tomorrow's Verizon 200 from the pole position. That's Daniel Suarez.
Yeah, they were on the same kart team at one point, and Daniel, you and Pato have stayed in touch over the years. How cool is this to get a chance to see him do his work, and he could stay and watch you tomorrow?
Yeah, it's definitely very cool. You know, Pato and I, we go long way back. It's crazy to think that it's been almost 20 years since we first met. So, you know, we grew up racing go-karts together, and now I'm in NASCAR. He's in IndyCar. He's doing amazing right now, actually. I've been looking to his lap times. He's running third right now, but he's actually a little bit quicker than the first couple guys. So they're showing a little bit of support. He seems to be very, very happy where he's at right now. Hopefully he can get a spot or two more.
You are really close to pointing your way into the NASCAR Cup playoffs, but starting from the point tomorrow, can you just take care of it and win?
That's the goal, you know, that's the goal for sure. You know, my car is good enough to do that. My entire team did a fantastic job today. Since lap one in practice, I already knew we had a good one, and we just continue to make the car a little bit better, but overall, today we had a good execution day with a fast car, and that was the pole. Hopefully tomorrow we can have another day like that. You know, we can control the race and execute well.
Thanks, Daniel. We'll get him in an Indy car next time. Trackhouse Racing is rolling right now, guys.
As they say, Trackhouse, our house, proudly displayed inside the building in Concord, North Carolina. Shane Van Gisbergen is back for the Project 91 team within Trackhouse as well. And what a day it's going to be tomorrow. Here is Scott Dixon. He leads this race. He last pitted on lap 32. If the numbers work out and everything goes his way, this is not out of the realm of possibility for Dixon to win this race.
I mean, he surprised us once again, Hitch. I didn't think it was going to be possible, but once again, Scott Dixon has figured out how to go fast, save massive amounts of fuel. His lap times are totally competitive. He's got 6.5 seconds to Graham Rahal, and if he can go 1 or 2 more laps, he's good.
Not only is he good here, he set the record for the most consecutive starts. If he does manage to win today, it'll be his first win on the season, but it'll be the 19th consecutive year with a victory. He currently holds the record. He'd break his own record today if he was able to get that. So potentially a 2 records in 1, a nice twofer for the number 9 and Scott Dixon.
We mentioned it earlier in the show. We were a little bit rushed coming to the green about IndyCar history. I want to revisit that and again say happy birthday to the legend, Parnelli Jones, 90 today. Parnelli, we know you're watching. Hope you've had a great day and enjoy the rest of this Gallagher Grand Prix. 28 laps to go. Kevin?
So the fuel isn't the biggest concern right now for Scott Dixon. You know he's a master at that, but he's a little bit concerned about the tire wear. Just trying to make it last. We'll see him within a couple of laps, Dylan.
And behind him, Graham Rahal runs in the second spot. I believe he's actually in fuel conservation mode, and I think the plan here is just to try to do a shorter fill on his last stop. So that's the plan. That's why the gap is starting to grow a little bit. By the way, Graham wanted a set of used reds for the finish. They had a set of used blacks at his disposal, too. He wants the reds to finish it out.
I mean, he's been so good on the primaries. I'm a little surprised, but at the same time, if there is a late caution, you want to be on those alternates. But it's not all smooth sailing for Graham Rahal. Here's just a moment ago down in turn one. Let's listen.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Almost just lost it. No clue what just happened.
I think that's probably why he wants
No worries, you're doing a great job. Let's just hang in there.
the used reds.
That's turn 12, not turn 1. I apologize. Got that one wrong. But yeah, it just shows you guys are, all these drivers are absolutely on the edge at all times. You can't be running up front in an IndyCar race if you're not. This man, Scott Dixon, a little bit of lap traffic. Stingray Robb right in front of him at the moment. And
no changes. We'll be ready for you.
No changes. We'll be ready for you. Says the managing director at Chip Ganassi Racing, Mike Hull.
And Kevin, I wonder, what do they have for tires? What are they going to bolt on to the number 9 here to go 26 laps to the finish?
They have a brand new set of the softer compound red sidewall Firestone soles, and that seems to be an advantage. They can last. Although Dixon, maybe he was giving me the okey doke. He told me yesterday, I think we're better on the primaries, but this has worked, so it could be an advantage for them. He's got to save a little bit of fuel to make it home, but might be this the day that Scott Dixon can extend that season win streak to 19. Final stop. You know the PNC Bank crew is almost always flawless. Can they get it done this time as well? They've got to get all the fuel in there as they can, and he is away.
Wow. Just remarkable. The gap he had over Graham Rahal when he came in there was just under 6 seconds, maybe 5.7 seconds. That's a big amount of time to make up. Dixon's so good at saving fuel and driving fast. Graham has a monumental task to close down over 5 seconds.
Shall we remind ourselves and everybody at home what happened to Scott Dixon on lap 1 of this race? If he were to go on and win, watch to your right, top screen, big box, lap 1 into turn 7, cars everywhere, and Dixon goes around.
He's going to get hit by Romain Grosjean, go all the way to the back of the field. And I promise you, at that moment, this field of 26 other drivers probably exhaled and thought, okay, well, at least Dixon's out of this
He's
now.
out of it.
But how many times has he appeared to be down and come back?
I got to be honest with you. I feel like at least half of his wins have come in conditions where you thought he was totally out of it. You think back to Portland a few years ago, massive accident on the first lap. He was stuck just off the tires. The only car that didn't have any damage, reversed out of the dirt, got back on track, found himself in the top 5. Just incredible.
Linus Lundqvist dives for pit lane. Another good race for this young rookie. Dixon is on it. Now we're going to build this into the story for the last 25 laps. Townsend.
Push for another lap or two here. Some of these guys will start coming here.
These guys are going to start coming to challenge you, Scott. What do you make of the weather?
Oh, man, I mean, it's starting to grow a little bit. The blob is getting closer, although it is, you know, northwest to the blue dot. You look out towards Crawfordsville right there. It's passed through Danville already, but it's starting to creep south, James. It's up near your house.
I got to tell you, I don't think it's going to come, guys. I think with 25 to go, we're going to have clear conditions till the checkered.
Get on that ring camera system.
All right.
See what's going on out there.
I'll put my phone on the table here. I'll bring up the ring camera, and then we can all see if the rain starts hitting.
31 seconds between Graham Rahal and Scott Dixon at the moment. Dixon is down in 12th after that stop. And Rahal saying
I think he says stay out a little bit longer would be my guess. Here's Alexander Rossi now coming in for his final stop. Dylan.
And this will be a set of used reds for Rossi. They've had an okay day, but I think they maybe wanted just a little bit more. He's been inside the top 5, but final pit stop here for Rossi, waiting on the fuel. He's down and away. Some
fancy footwork there from the outside front tire changer on Rossi's car. Todd Phillips, crew chief, got the cord between his legs. He had to dance around it as he threw the gun around the front of the car. But now the thirsty threes are in, Kevin.
And he's got a set of sticker reds for this last as well. It's not a winning opportunity for McLaughlin, but they can still make up and continue the momentum that they've had here over the last 7 weekends.
That second place last weekend in Nashville got McLaughlin up to 4th in the championship. He would drop back a position at the moment, but this race far from over, and he's been locked with his teammate Will Power there in a pretty stiff battle for quite a while. So, 24 to go here at the Brickyard in the Gallagher Grand Prix. How is this going to unfold between Graham Rahal, Alex Palou, Scott Dixon, as we see another RLL driver? This is Christian Lundgaard.
Big opportunity for the crew here to try to make up from the earlier loss for Christian Lundgaard. He's about a second behind Pato O'Ward. Can they work some magic here on this, their final stop?
And Ricardo Nault said, yeah, we just need smooth stops. We don't need anything fancy, just routine service, 4 tires, fuel, and used reds for Lundgaard. Kevin.
Pato O'Ward is up further along on pit road. Let's see if he can beat out Lundgaard. He will. Just nose in front of him. This is used reds for O'Ward for the last stint.
This is going to be a good scrap here between a Chevy, a Honda, a McLaren, and a Rahal Letterman Lanigan car. Meanwhile, to the right, look who's coming into picture.
Alex Rossi in the blue and orange McLaren. He's going to come out just behind both of these cars. Christian Lundgaard on the alternates, Rossi on the alternates that are warm.
Meanwhile, Scott Dixon has climbed all the way back up to 3rd on this pit stop rotation, and the pressure is now back on Graham Rahal and his team.
He had to. Scott Dixon was the fastest car on track. That gap was falling. He's still going to come out well behind the number 9. The 15 crew needs a fire stop, Dylan.
They do indeed, and they'll go to used reds here for their final run of the day. Wanted to keep Graham out there just a little bit longer, try and make this a short fill if they can. Small front wing change. We'll see how close the blend is.
There's Alex Palou on the right, the blue number 10, the American Legion car. He hasn't been serviced yet. He's looking for his stop there. He sees his team guys, gets out of the way of Rahal. Meanwhile, to the right is the bright orange and blue PNC Bank Honda. The 6-time champion, Scott Dixon, is going to cycle to the front.
With that sneaky little smirk on his face, he beat us all today. Didn't see this coming when Dixon had to pit on just lap 5 under yellow, but he is clear of Graham Rahal by probably 5 or 6 seconds. And Dixon set to do it again. Wow.
You're watching USA's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Hy-Vee. This racing season, you can help Hy-Vee reach their goal of 100 million meals by visiting Hy-Vee.com. Custom Entertainment. We're not just passionate about entertainment, we help define it. And by Gallagher. Insurance, risk management, consulting. Helping you face your future with confidence. And this is the Gallagher Grand Prix. We're riding with Alexander Rossi. Welcome back, folks. Lee Diffie, James Hinchcliffe, Townsend Bell, Kevin Lee, and Dylan Welsh. We've enjoyed a wonderful afternoon, and it really is day 1 of serious competition of this NASCAR IndyCar crossover weekend. Coming up a little later this afternoon, the Pennzoil 150, presented by Advanced Auto Parts. Tomorrow, in the NASCAR Cup Series, the Verizon 200, right here at the Brickyard. We just heard from pole sitter from Trackhouse Racing, Daniel Suarez. Really cool weekend. It's the 4th year in a row, and we are loving it. Here is a pass for the man who electrified everybody on the opening lap, Devlin DeFrancesco.
Yeah, what a great start that was from the number 29. That's going to be highlight reel material for a long time coming. Bravest of the brave on the brakes.
He'll certainly have that moment and impress us all, but DeFrancesco finds himself down in 20th position. That's Ryan Hunter-Reay in car number 20, who makes a move just behind him. And Rinus VeeKay, some smoke coming out there, and I don't know if that was the floor rubbing or potentially something in the drivetrain. VeeKay 10th on board here with Rosenqvist.
That didn't sound too good.
Didn't sound good at all.
That was reminiscent of Colton Herta a year ago, and he's in trouble.
Look at VeeKay's car also throwing puffs of smoke. That looks like a motor might be going.
You're right.
Let's have a look at this. Here's a replay of Rinus VeeKay. Look to the left. Gold and white, bitnile.com Chevy. And Rosenqvist right alongside.
Sometimes you see that hitch on the front straight here and you think, oh, that's the floor rubbing on a bump, but the haziness of the smoke looks like something else. It looks more oil burn than floor rub.
Yeah, I don't disagree there. It's potentially, I mean, obviously still running. Not hearing any radio transmissions from the team concerned. Maybe just a small amount of oil leaking from somewhere that's getting burned off quick, but so far so good for the BitNile.com car.
By the way, it might only be by a few tenths of a second here or there, but Graham Rahal is reeling Scott Dixon in. He's lopped off about 3-4 tenths of a second over this last lap. This race isn't Scott Dixon's just yet. Look in the background. There's Graham Rahal on the attack. 7 tenths of a second diff on that last tour. That just shows the pace that the number 15 right now, Graham Rahal, furious that Scott Dixon pulled a Scott Dixon and outmaneuvered him. He wants to go chase him down and make a race out of it.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure Graham's been maybe catching a glimpse of all the Jumbotrons around here and say, wait a second, I saw Dixon at the start of this race on the replays on the boards around here. What's going on? But maybe we're seeing the benefit of stretching things and being able to pit well within a full rich window for Graham Rahal. He's got 4 laps more fuel to burn.
5.5 seconds not that long ago. It's now down to 4.5 seconds. Here comes Rahal.
Look at that, in just 4 laps. 1.5. This might just turn out like a pretty interesting ending here as the 15 tracks down Dixon.
His teammate did it in Toronto. Pole to victory lane. Can Graham do it here in Indy? Even our own James Hinchcliffe, who's a good friend of Scott Dixon's and a long-time competitor, said, when I was a young guy, this guy was one of my heroes. And he's been a hero to many. Alex Palou has modeled himself off Scott Dixon. Young David Maluka said, I would like to be like Scott Dixon. So in this era, we talk about the greats of Mario Andretti and AJ Foyt. Supertex, by the way, is here today. But now in this era, we talk about Dixon, and for many years to come, people will look at what this guy has put on the board in the history of IndyCar and say, that's the mark. I want to be like that guy.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, this guy has just been so incredible for so long. You see that 319, just one ahead now of good friend, fellow IndyCar champion, fellow Indy 500 winner Tony Kanaan at 318. Just such an impressive run for both these guys. And, you know, I hate to say it. I hate to say it and almost have him feel old when you say it, but he was a hero of mine. I mean, getting to share the racetrack with him was such an honor, going wheel to wheel with him. There's no better driver to do it. You know he's going to race you hard, but you know he's going to race you fair and clean.
And he told us on the radio when we talked to him before the start of this thing, I do it simply because I love racing. I don't think that's totally accurate. Scott Dixon loves winning. That's what he's chasing. Racing for these opportunities, the chance to remind everybody why he's the very best, maybe, of all time.
3.7 seconds between Dixon and Graham Rahal. Let's learn more about the driver of the 15 with Dylan Welch.
So he's been a little bit animated on the radio the last couple laps because of these 2 lap cars. I believe it's one of the Junco's cars in front of him, and I think Marcus Armstrong, the other car down the road. It's Augustine Canapino in front of him, and he's asking them if they can have any help to get these guys out of the way so he can keep trying to run down Dixon. Now, obviously, these guys aren't teammates, so nothing's guaranteed, but they are a lap down. So Graham asking for a little bit of help.
Graham might get some help out of Canapino, but if Chip Ganassi Racing hears that transmission, they're going to tell Marcus Armstrong, Dixon's teammate, you do not let this guy by.
Here's some Rahal radio. Have a listen.
14 to go. They're still telling Scott to save on the radio. Let's keep pushing. 78 needs to let me go. We're working on that, copy.
That was obviously slightly delayed. He's saying the 78 needs to let me go. Canapino has let him by.
11 knows are coming.
Armstrong is 2 laps down to the field, so IndyCar can give a command blue flag requiring that Armstrong get out of the way and disabling push to pass for Armstrong.
11 car ahead is blue flag eligible, so they should move him over.
Exactly. There you go. Took the words out of your mouth there, Townsend. Once you're lapped down to the full field, you are, as you heard on the radio, blue flag eligible, which means you can get that command from race control, and then you have to let the car behind you by. Canapino didn't let him by. You saw Graham had to burn push to pass to make that happen. He's now down to 38 seconds. Scott Dixon up there on 69. but if he's saving a lot of fuel, he might not be able to use that push to pass in defense if Graham gets there.
The hard part for Graham Rahal, I think, is the fact that he had to run used reds for this final stint. Dixon on the sticker reds as the day is done for Felix Rosenqvist. We heard the onboard with the gearbox. Well, we think something to do with gearbox or driveline issues, and finally terminal for Felix Rosenqvist. There's the gap, the 9 to the 15, Dixon over Rahal.
Snuck back up to 4 seconds. So we're just talking of a variance of 3 or 4 tenths of a second. It was down as low as 3.6 from Dixon to Graham Rahal.
Armstrong just let Graham by. That is huge. 12 laps. So you would need, what, 3/10 of a second advantage to get to the gearbox of Scott Dixon by the end. Did I just see a puff come out of the back of Graham Rahal's car?
I saw a puff as well. I'm not sure if, like you talked about earlier, if it was a floor issue, just the car bottoming out, little puff of smoke coming off the bottom of the car. But like you say, 3/10 a lap just to catch him. But before we got to this traffic situation, it was sometimes as much as 7/10 of a second a lap, the advantage Graham Rahal had over Scott Dixon. So let's see. He's already carved a couple of tenths out.
I think that's just a floor touch on the 15. I think it's the back of the car just dragging as he transitioned. Did Graham Rahal up onto the banking there, exiting turn 11. Let's see what this lap time looks like. He was held up a bit, Graham was, by Marcus Armstrong, but Graham Rahal comes across at a 13.9 to Dixon's 14.3. That's just on pace.
Yep.
With 11 laps to go.
Folks, at the end of last season, Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan went through a massive transition. They moved into a brand new, whopping facility to house the sports car arm of the team for the BMW IMSA program, and then for the 3 IndyCar. And then with the growth of the Indy 500 as well, an additional car at the Indy 500. And then they had a new technical director come in with Stefano Sordo, came over from Formula One. There were lots of changes. And then the results did not come at the beginning of this season, and people speculated, did they bite off more than they could chew? Did they take on too much? Was there too many changes all at the one time? Personnel coming and going. However, they had to make mid-season changes, and those changes they made worked. Because this man here, Christian Lundgaard, won in Toronto. Graham Rahal is now down to 3 seconds within this man of Scott Dixon to try and win for the first time in 6 years. It is time to bring the action. Scott Dixon's lead has dwindled to 2.6 seconds. Graham Rahal keeps eating into the lead of the Chip Ganassi racer. Can Rahal end this frustrating drought of 6 years to be an IndyCar winner again? He is doing everything in his power to try and catch Scott Dixon. Is his aggression and push enough, or is Dixon's control and calm going to be the winning combination?
Dixon's got 25 seconds more push to pass than we do.
There you go. He's getting the information, and you saw the gap. Rahal 3/10 to the good last lap over Dixon, and Dixon now in that very awkward situation of catching more lap cars, including Ryan Hunter-Reay, who is on the lead lap, and Dixon doesn't appear to have fuel to burn to get past Hunter-Reay with authority. Let's learn more about Rahal with Dylan Welch.
Well, remember what Graham has said all weekend. We are maybe the best we are on every run on old tires. The deeper we get into the run, the better we feel, and the better we feel than others around us. So while Dixon starts to get into traffic, this is coming right into Rahal's wheelhouse the deeper this run goes, Kevin.
Scott Dixon would really like some help with the traffic in front of him, but Mike Hull just reminded him they're still on the lead lap, so they don't have to pull over.
2.6 seconds down to 2.2. Rahal continues to eat into it. Hunter-Reay into turn 7. Dixon would love to see some clear track ahead, but it's not going to happen.
But how much tire does Graham Rahal left? He had to start this stint on used reds.
I mean, he could smell the blood in the water. He's going to drive
1.9 seconds in.
Whatever the tires got. Scott Dixon probably getting a little heated in the helmet. Ryan Hunter-Reay has every right to be doing what he's doing, try to stay on the lead lap. There's been a lot of talk amongst the drivers about this very situation.
Let's go on board with the Code Prix car. Graham Rahal, just listen to the power down. That'll tell us how much grip he has available.
7 laps remain, minus 1.7.
Sounds good to me, Townsend. Power down sounds good. You don't hear the engine noise increasing. That indicates wheel spin. Sounds like he's got the grip in the back of the car. The front end looks hooked up through that turn 4 section. And that gap slowly coming down as Scott Dixon struggles to get by Ryan Hunter-Reay. But maybe it's happening here down into 7. This is big.
Weird. That's big. That is really big. You know, at one point in time in both of their respective careers, Scott Dixon and Graham Rahal were teammates at Chip Ganassi Racing. Well, now they are opponents, they're rivals, and Dixon is standing in the way of Graham Rahal getting his first win in a long time.
So here's the question. How does Ryan Hunter-Reay react once Graham Rahal gets onto the gearbox of that number 20? Does he just pull over and say, hey, look, I don't want to get involved in the fight for the lead. I'm down in whatever position he's running in right now, 20th place.
And all these guys have been racing Indy cars for so many years. So if you're Ryan Hunter-Reay, you probably take stock of the relationship now. Who do I want to help out here? What's Graham Rahal been like over the last 15 years of my career? Hunter-Reay always a clean driver. I think he'll play it clean here, but this will hold up Graham a little bit if Hunter-Reay stays ahead through these S's, turns 2, 3, and 4.
6 to go. 6 laps of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course to determine, is it going to be Scott Dixon or Graham Rahal?
Racing drivers can be like elephants, Diff. Long memories. Ryan's probably thinking back to Iowa 2011 or something. And hey, do these guys get along? There you go. Frustration from Graham.
Team is working on it, trying to get the message, let me by.
Oh,
I thought he was doing it there.
I thought so too, but Ryan says, no, I'm on the lead lap. I'm entitled. IndyCar has sent the message super clear. I can fight in case the yellow comes out and pack back up. Rahal's going to be getting furious now.
1.6 seconds, Dixon to Rahal. Next time across, it's just 5 laps remaining. Rahal's frustration increasing. He wants by. He wants a clean, clear shot at Dixon.
And I should correct myself, Hunter-Reay a lap down to Dixon, but not a lap down to the field. And there's Graham. Here he comes.
There you go. Ryan Hunter-Reay doing the right thing, lifting off the throttle. Remember, he doesn't have to do that. I know Graham's upset, but that wasn't actually a requirement from Ryan. That was him being a pal, not wanting to get involved in this fight, and it's still only 1.6 seconds up to Scott Dixon. Scott didn't pull away when he got by Ryan.
If you're the team, you got to calm your driver down. Tell Graham Rahal, listen, you can go smack runner Hunter-Reay around after the race. Let's keep 2 hands on the wheel and go get Dixon.
And they are almost level on push to pass. 39 seconds left for Dixon, 33 for Rahal. It's game on.
It is game on in a big way, guys. I'm surprised Scott didn't pull away more once he cleared the 20. Now it's nothing between Rahal and Dixon. He's following that flashing rear light. We're not sure why the rain light on the 9 has been illuminated. It's been like that since the start of the race and the contact.
I think it's probably from getting rear-ended from Romain Grosjean on the start. Kevin, what can you tell us about the 9 in terms of fuel he might need to save to make it to the end?
So I think they're going to be fine. One, because he's so good at it. When this stint started, he was told he could push hard for a couple of laps. Then save me some you can use for later. But I would also say, and I often can tell by the urgency in voices, you're not going to be able to tell with Mike Hull and Scott Dixon. They are so calm all the time. So I think they're okay, but you never know.
But they might not be fast enough, Div. Graham Rahal once again 3/10 quicker than Dixon on that last lap. He can feel it, he can see it, and he can hear Scott Dixon's engine. He's getting that close.
1.1 seconds, 4 laps to go. Midfield straight, coming up to 7, coming up to the guy who passed Graham Rahal on the opening lap, Devlin DiFrancesco.
But again, crucially, Scott's now in that pocket of about 1 second where the dirty air that's coming off the back of Devlin DiFrancesco's car is affecting the handling of the number 9, which is already not as good as the 15. You can see the gap shrinking on the screen.
0.7 of a second, Dixon versus Rahal. This is going to be one of the classics on this road course.
Oh, look at
Rahal under brakes.
Superman deep on the brakes. Now Graham Rahal will have the draft down the longest straightaway on the road course schedule.
He's got to be patient. He's got to be smart. He only has 3 good hits of push to pass left. We see Devlin DiFrancesco moving out of the way. Great call from the driver of the 29. Now it is a straight fight Best man wins with 3 laps to go.
Get him, buddy, they say, get him. That's the call to Graham Rahal. Yesterday, after winning pole position for the first time in 6 years, he said, it's nice to have it validated and to be reminded that I still belong. I still have a place in IndyCar. Well, Graham, you're just 3 laps away from maybe breaking a 6-year drought in victories.
And can you imagine if Graham wins this thing by tracking down and passing Scott Dixon straight up on the racetrack? That's a way to plant your pole.
He made the comment after qualifying, it's nice to feel like you belong in this series after getting a pole position in such a competitive environment at a track where the times are always so close. If he can back that up with a win, Graham, I promise you, buddy, you belong in this series. Little score to push to pass. You see the green lights illuminated on the side of the steering wheel dash.
35, place 32. Graham Rahal's most memorable win was at Mid-Ohio, but this could be even bigger. He's not fighting just anybody, he's fighting the man, the 6-time champion, Scott Dixon.
Dixon's getting squirrely coming onto the front straightaway there. I think Graham's going to have a great run right here, but I think Dixon...
Let's go get him.
2 laps to go, 5 miles to determine the winner of this Gallagher Grand Prix. Under the brakes into turn 1, still Dixon over Rahal. Here comes Graham though.
It's one thing to track down Scott Dixon. It's another thing to pass him when Dixon has another win in his sights. He is so clever about driving the car behind him. Dixon knows exactly what he needs to do to make it miserable for Graham Rahal.
The big key here is that Scott Dixon's done enough fuel saving earlier in this stint, which has been a lot longer than Graham, to be able to use that push to pass. 19 seconds for Rahal, 26 for Dixon. Kevin Lee.
They just told him position 1. My best guess is, like you said, he can turn up the wick. Let's see if he can gap Rahal a little bit.
Folks, we couldn't ask for it to be any better. NASCAR IndyCar crossover weekend, and the first of 3 races is a classic. We're going to have less than a 1-second margin with 1 lap to go between Scott Dixon and Graham Rahal.
Oh, Graham got a little bit wide there through turn 13. It's going to be tough for him to find the draft. White flag.
This is the key overtaking point.
White flag, let's keep the pressure on him. Make him earn this one.
Make him earn this one, they say to Graham Rahal. However, and to Scott Dixon, can he sustain the pressure? Or has Rahal got something special over there in turn 7? That midfield straight into the left-hander and the key overtaking point.
Big, long radius corner here, turn 4. It really challenges all 4 Firestones, but Dixon still with the gap through the chicane. They come down to turn 7. Rahal still not close enough for a lunge.
It was a year ago at Nashville where Scott Dixon separated himself from Mario Andretti to move into 2nd overall all-time on the wins list. Now look at this. Graham Rahal says, I'm not sure if I'm going to let you win in a 19th season. I want this win, but it's not going to come easy. Dixon into turn 12. Rahal is throwing everything at it, but the overtaking opportunities have run out. What a comeback from Scott Dixon after spinning on the opening lap. And in 19 consecutive seasons, Scott Dixon is going to be a winner again. Spin to win. Dixon has done it in Indy. Spinning on the opening lap to seeing the yard of bricks first. Nothing is too big for Scott Dixon in the IndyCar Series.
And if you're Graham Rahal, you just have to throw up your hands. He did everything right today. He beat his teammate. He beat Arrow McLaren. And this is going to be frustrating. Great drive.
Look at that. Great sportsmanship there. Giving the thumbs up to Scott.
And huge respect. He knows he's witnessing greatness right in front of him.
Good job, boys.
Well,
I'm sorry, I lost.
Danny Sullivan did it on the big track. Scott Dixon's done it on the road course.
Miracle on dirt in Portland, the miracle on grass today.
54th career win, second only to AJ Foyt. And that one there shows the mastery of Scott Dixon, Mike Hull, the engineering staff, Chip Ganassi Racing. Never count this guy out in his 319th consecutive start, the most ever in the history. He caps it off with a win.